Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, gathered in this steam gathering in the memorial of our beloved Dai, Padma Ratna Tuladhar. I'm Sajana Maharjan, who has worked day and night to move the secretariat of the peace process to support the two senior facilitators of Nepal's peace process, Mr. Padma Ratna Tuladhar and Mr. Daman Naktungan. I am glad that I could be a part of that process which made Nepal a republic, which could bring up a constitution through a constituent assembly, and which could bring the voices of different marginalized groups into that constitution. I remember Mr. Tuladhar in that way. As every Newari children grew up in Kathmandu, listening to the rights, especially the linguistic rights that we were talking for a longer period, I also grew up in the same setup. I remember my father participating in Vintuna on every Puchah, Govardhan Puja in Nepali, coming home late and asking him all the time, what is it all about? I remember he could not explain to me what he actually is doing. Maybe like I was too small to understand all those things. But when I became older, then I slowly started to feel what he was doing. He was talking about the rights of my community, the language that we have lost in the whole changes in Nepal's spectrum. This does not stop over there. Then in 80s, while walking through the road from Digli Bazar to Putali Sadak, then all of a sudden I actually noticed a picture stick on the wall. All the time, a kind of like a picture with a glowing personality, the logo, a logo at the side. And I was thinking, who is this person? I never knew that I would be lucky to work with him for a longer period of my professional career. It is then, like in 2005, that I got an opportunity, say an offer actually, to work for Nepal's peace process. In the beginning, I was hesitant to work in that process. Then slowly I got to know that what it is all about, why is it needed. Then I accepted the offer and joined Nepal Transition to Peace Initiative. I'm Sajana Maharjan, currently working for FHI 360 for its civil society and governance project. I worked for a longer period of time with Mr. Tuladhar in Nepal's peace process from September 2005 to September 2018. I remember the last day of our meeting of NTTP as an institute. That same process which began in 2005 actually converted into an institute in 2015. I think that was the last meeting that we had together. I remember that evening when we were having dinner, we were talking about all the soft food that he can eat. We were trying to like feed him well that day. He's inspiring all the time. His inspiration actually made us comfortable, that whole environment. He respects everyone, every single person, irrespective of the age, position, caste, and where that person comes from. I grew up with Nepal's peace process. I learned professionally a lot in this process through him, through the other mentors. And I saw him growing older with the peace process. I want to call him the facilitator of all the facilitators. He talked about the human rights. He talks about the rights of the people. He talks about the rights of the marginalized, oppressed class and community without talking or without saying the definite word human rights. His stories always made me feel that he is someone different for this whole society, for this whole world, who actually initiated this whole event of Bintuna just to make the whole community feel that the language is important. He also worked to include women into the process. He also worked to include Dalits into the process. He was continuously trying to widen those spaces for all these communities. And I was inspired to work day and night with him. I remember having longer conversations with him when we were talking about Nepal's peace process. Doing the political analysis, be it to we sit with the leaders and talk about the negotiations, the positions of different stakeholders, he was always calm, patient, listening to everyone. Even when everybody leaves the table, he says that the table is for the opposition. We need to hear them. They want us to be heard. We need to represent their voices. These are the inspiration that my generation can take forward from him. While signing the peace accord, comprehensive peace occurred in Nepal in 2006. I remember the political party leaders who were gathered inside the hall to sign the accord. Mr. Tuladhar and a set of other first leaders were there to observe the whole process. They were not allowed to speak at all. But in that instance also, I remember him from the observers' decks saying that, remember leaders, when we are signing this peace accord, there is someone outside the table whose voices you have to represent. There is someone outside the room who wants us to represent their voices. This was heard. He was bold enough to talk about this one. This actually resulted into a team in which there were several number of women in the interim constitution drafting committee, and that resulted into one of the progressive interim constitutions of Nepal that internalized the rights of women, that internalized the rights of the Dalits and the marginalized groups as well. And the example that is set in that constitution is like citizenship through descent by mother. Although due to the delay in making the laws for that one, people still struggle to get the citizenship through a mother, but the lines are pointed in that constitution. And that became the basis for the constitution that Nepal promulgated in September 2015. Another instance I would like to remember him is about his inspiration to go beyond Kathmandu. Patience, all the time, that actually drove me to work towards this direction. I could start with a small effort, but longer dedication to have 3 regional dialogue groups in 3 different parts of Nepal in 2012, early 2012. We knew Nepal was ending, Nepal's Constituent Assembly was ending in May 2012, and conflict was for sure because there was different voices in different parts of Nepal. It was necessary that the groups stand ready to make peace in the society. With the inspiration and the few words from Mr. Tuladhar and the other facilitators, I could actually prepare a team in Dang Chapa and Janakpur. Those people who take Mr. Tuladhar and other facilitators, especially Mr. Damarnath Dungana, as the idols of the facilitation of Nepal's peace process. Just with their names, they actually moved ahead. Now, it is good to share that we have more than 100 facilitators in different parts of Nepal working to establish peace at the local community. The small stories seem small, but he has left the greater stories for Nepal and its community. I'd like to add one more thing about him. Whenever I was traveling outside of Nepal, he always encouraged me to meet with the Nepali diaspora. To encourage Nepali diaspora to support Nepal in different aspects, especially when we were working together from 2005 to 2018. That period is mostly about Nepal's transition into the peace process. I heard people in America talking more about linguistic rights, but here in Kathmandu and in Nepal, we were focusing more on the constitutional rights, the peace process. We were not focused only in the languages over here. Then some of the instances I remember, like people had discouraging voices saying that our language, our culture is being kidnapped. Our language and our culture is being sent somewhere, and you are talking only about peace process. Coming back, then I told Padma that I call him Padma most of the times in the informal settings and sometimes in the formal settings as well. I told him that people are not happy about what we are doing over here or what is our focus over here. He then tells me that, of course, to include that right, we are talking about the constitutional rights. We are talking about the peace process. We are talking about the constitution. That actually made me move on with this thing as well. Then I remember in 2010, when my son was around 1+ years, he started talking. Then at one instance, he asked me, does he knows Newari? I told him that my mother and my father speak Newari language. I do as well. But my siblings and my husband and his parents, they are not very comfortable using Newari language into day-to-day use. And then I told him that my son would not be comfortable learning Newari and Newari in his mixed settings. That day he inspired me saying that a child has that cognitive capacity to learn 5 different languages. So why don't you try? This gave me a thought. Why not try with my son? If I am going to change the society, why not from my home? Then I slowly started teaching him Newari language. Today, he cannot speak Newari fluently, but he understands. He can have a basic conversation in Newari language as well. I would like to thank Padma to inspire the younger community to make our languages alive in this way. And another instance, we were establishing like an institute. And then we were talking about who will lead the organization and who will be the other members. His continuous fight, though he is not loud most of the times, he is very quiet in the formal settings. Until and unless he speaks in a mass, he doesn't speak loudly. I have not noticed in my professional career his loud voice into the normal setups. Then constantly he talked with all the members institute in that institution that we should have women in the board. Thanks to him again that we have women as the vice president, we have women who laid the position as the member, and I was one of them who could actually lead the organization in the capacity of executive director for Nepal Transition to Peace Institute. He inspired me to move on in that way as well. He inspired the whole group to have talks with the women and the marginalized people. We have different groups. We had one political forum which was talking mostly about the bigger issues. But those bigger issues normally sideline the issues of the women and the marginalized community. Those voices were not clearly represented in that bigger forum. Due to his efforts, due to his way of convincing the whole team, we had several other groups working together. Today, not just me, all those groups will miss him. All those groups will feel that vacuum that he brought into the table. He is a balance between the facilitators as well. That is why I love to call him facilitator of the facilitators. He is always at the front when he has to bring the people around the table, have them talk, have them listen to each other, have them move into the solutions. His inspiration, his continuous efforts are not just one-sided. He was respected by everyone, the younger ones, the younger generation, the women, the Dalits, the marginalized. And in terms of political spectrum, he was respected by Democrats and even the left. And the Maoist thinks that he is their mentor. He is their guiding principle. He understands human rights in a different lens. He never said that killing yourself or killing somebody else is the solution to anyone. He always thought about a process that dialogue helps to do that. He understands the value of dialogue. He understands the strength of convening the table for that dialogue. He understands the patience needed to be on that dialogue table. That is why I would like to call him again the facilitator of the facilitators. So for this generation and for the community that I work, one of the things that we can take forward is that patience that he brought into this whole process. When we are changing the society, when we are fighting with the existing spectrum, it is difficult actually to move or to get success in a shorter span of time. You need patience. He was involved in this process for more than, say, 50 years of his life. He had that patience to do that. So how can we imagine that in just like a couple of years we can do everything? It's difficult. So for my generation and for the community that I work, I would like to say that have that links. We have to continue working. The change is incremental, but what we do for the society will be recognized forever. So that is why I would like to say that he has been honored by the state. He has been honored by the people. So though he has left us now, physically, he will remain in our hearts. He will remain in our principles. He will remain in the works that we do every day to change the society, to change Nepal. And the best dedication that we can do for him is to implement this constitution in the spirit that he brought forward into this peace process. Thank you.